One reason sulphur-crested cockatoos are considered successful is their natural curiosity. I love eavesdropping, but I draw the line at curiosity because it means an encounter with unfamiliarity. Cockatoos will stop to check out a recently ploughed paddock or chew through some wiring to see if what's underneath is edible. And if it is, they pass the information on. Like at Sydney Olympic Park, where they chewed through the wiring on the lighting towers.
They have done that. They cost a vast amount of money. But interesting that the people who manage the lights were looking for solutions other than just taking pot shots at them. So, putting strong metal guards like a sleeve around some of the places where the birds were getting in. So it's nice that people try and find these solutions and not just get rid of them.
Oh, how rude. I didn't even ask her what her name was. Who are you?
I'm Judy Harrington. I'm a park ranger at Sydney Olympic Park.
Sulphur-crested cockatoos, always adapting to an ever-changing world. 52-year-old men who can't change simply atrophy. I suppose I should ask her where we are.
We're at the Waterbird Refuge in Bicentennial Park, which is during the weekend the most popular part of the Sydney parklands. But during the week, beautiful reserve, quiet, stacks of birds we're looking at. This is...
apart from the traffic noise that we can hear from Homebush Bay Drive in the background.
But it shows you that there's wildlife in the city. That's the whole point.
I suppose I should ask her what this place is.
Saltwater estuary to salt marsh, freshwater lakes, some of which are constructed and some natural. And then there's the remnant forest, the woodland, which is Sydney turpentine ironbark forest, and then of course all the planted areas.
Have you got a bird that you saw one day and it sticks in your mind? An epiphany bird perhaps?
Maybe not exactly, but I'm very fond of lyrebirds. We have a holiday house and it's lovely there to listen. That's the sound of our holiday place. The call of the lyrebirds calling in the background when they're breeding, when the males are really at it, and just keep singing, and very, very hard to distract. And finding their nest is just thrilling, yeah.
So while I wait to hear back from this breakfast cereal commercial...
Hi Steve, it's Lee calling.
Oh, that's my agent in Flashback.
If you could give me a call back as soon as possible, that'd be great. Thanks, bye.
I'm stopping to examine a ploughed paddock, or perhaps chew through some wiring, metaphorically speaking, i.e. I'm birdwatching with Keith Brownwood from Cumberland County Bird Observers. Comfortable shoes, walking short, t-shirt, jumper in case of a southerly, an unostentatious hat, binoculars, esky containing morning tea, morning lunch, afternoon lunch, and afternoon tea. I like very little gap between my meals. Gee, I hope Keith has a Sherpa. Do most birdwatchers look forward to morning tea?
Well, in Australia, it's a sort of thing we do, but a lot of overseas visitors apparently don't do it. Either they don't think they've got time, or I don't know, in England it's probably too cold to sit down and have a cup of tea anyway, but they think it's a fantastic year when you bring them here, overseas visitors, and you get the morning tea and the coffee out and the biscuits. Can't believe it.
It's a good chance to discuss what you've actually seen and what you might see.
That's right, for sure. And gives your lips a bit of a rest from squeaking.
You're pretty impressive there, if not a little ear splitting.
So, Whitey, you don't eat.
I've only been birdwatching with a group twice. Once at Sydney Olympic Park, Homebush. There are now 126 species of bird, compared to 123 the year before. 7 species of frog, 9 species of bat, 7 species of reptile. If I'd cleaned the car, this newsletter from the Cumberland County Bird Observers Club would not have been on the floor, and these facts would not have been at my fingertips. Sometimes laziness pays dividends. It's also hard to drive and read at the same time. That day at Homebush, I ticked a great egret, a sacred kingfisher, a zebrafinch, a little bird with a red beak, a welcome swallow. Did you know that welcome swallows only take and eat food on the wing? It's the ultimate in fast food. A novice will often mistake the welcome swallow for a tree martin, or even a fairy martin. One more time so we won't make that same mistake again. Apart from their calls, at a glance, how do you tell the difference between those 3 birds? May I give you Walter Bowles?
Welcome swallows have the back and the rump and the tail all one color. The fairy martins have a short, square tail, again, which you may not notice that easily, but the rump is quite a different color from the rest of the back.
Welcome swallow has a forked tail, and the fairy martin has a more squared off tail and a white rump. Tree martin's a little bit harder because it's similar to the fairy martins, but its white rump is not so clean white and a dark head.
I also went atlasing at Picnic Point on the 4th of the 3rd, 2007. I know that date well because it's the day I lost my licence. I slept in and got a speeding fine trying to make up for lost time. So what is atlasing?
Atlasing is, there's several groups, but with Birds Australia, the Birds Australia Atlases, they've had 2 rounds of the Atlas, but they're also encouraging people to continue atlasing, which is to, everywhere you go, stop and do a 20-minute count. Record the birds that you see. If you're on holidays, record the birds that you see, but also to visit favourite spots. So we're building up a picture of the birds that are in areas and how they change.
Despite the 12 demerit points, I ticked a striated heron, an azure kingfisher. With their stunning violet colouring, they look like they're in a never-ending production of Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I also ticked an Australasian grebe, Eurasian coot, the purple swamp hen. I saw a white-bellied sea eagle being chased by a raven. If a white-bellied sea eagle is not fully white underneath, it's not yet 3 years old. And someone pointed out a migrant called a dollar bird.
Yes, comes here and breeds every summertime. Just arrived they have, actually.
In the early 70s, I bet dollar birds owned combis and travelled up and down the coast looking for good times.
A good time to watch them is just on dusk, because you can see them up in the air then, because the insects are out more then, I think, and they're just hawking for these insects all the time. But anywhere in the forest where there's some hollows, because they nest in hollows, you'll find a dollar bird, and that call's a dead giveaway. It's quite a loud call, so easy to pick up our dollar birds.
And why are they called dollar birds?
Because of the look like a white silver dollar in the wings when they fly. But of course, common miners have that too. You see a common miner fly, it's got 2 white spots in the wing, and currawongs have too, but that's where it got its name from, dollar bird. They are the roller family, you know, they're called rollers, is that family of birds.
Simpson and Day says, bill and legs are red, obviously. Dollar birds need to use more sunscreen. Underparts brown, that's better than the underpants being brown. Blue throat, they must like dirty jokes. Who was the first carpenter? Eve, because she made Adam's banana stand. Wings green-blue, pale blue wing spots in flight, habitat woodlands. I'd never heard of a dollar bird, but I didn't want to appear like a novice, so I said I saw it. Kind of a greeny bird with red legs, aren't they? And
a short red bill, and sit on a branch and go kak 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 kak.
Experienced birders locate fauna by call as well as visually. At Picnic Point, someone would often yell, "Dependent call, juvenile noisy miner," and everyone instantly knew where to look, except for this squat chap with a large sharp nose. I really need to work on my bird calls.
And welcome to Name That Bird Call. What bird is that?
It's one of the cuckoos. Is it the channel bill cuckoo?
What bird is this?
What about the pallid cuckoo?
No, how about this one?
No, I don't know. Sorry. Restless flycatcher?
Okay, this one.
No, I really do have to work on these bird calls. At Picnic Point, I did see a disgorged white-faced heron. That was easy to spot because it was dead. Apparently, it was the victim of a powerful owl. Powerful owls are quite common.
Well, they are in Sydney. There's, dozens of pairs. There'll be 2-3 dozen pairs of powerful owls. When I say Sydney, I'm talking from the Hawkesbury, down to the other side of Palm Beach. So yes, there are plenty of powerful owls. I know it says that I think it says it's rare or vulnerable, I think. But around Sydney there's plenty of them. I don't know why nobody's answered that question. Even Walter Bowles, I asked him, he didn't answer the question. But I think that there's a lot more possums. Birds need food, and if there's plenty of food, you'll get lots of predators after that food, I think.
Gee, I hope we're not walking far because I'll have really sore face muscles from pulling my stock complaining face. Someone put satellite transmitters on bar-tailed godwits in New Zealand. And one bird reached the northern end of the Yellow Sea in a non-stop flight from New Zealand, a distance of 9,575 kilometres, the longest known flight of any bird. 7 days it took. Can you just describe a bar-tailed godwit for me?
Yes.
Can you do it now?
They're a bird that's a bit smaller body-wise than a magpie, long legs, and quite a long bill.
That's the godwit flying overhead going peep, peep.
Oh, thank you, Judy. Keith?
It probes in the sand to get its food,
It's one of the waders, so it's just a sandpiper
deep in the sand, not on the surface.
poking around in the water, along the water's edge.
They go to Siberia to breed.
Yep, a lot of these sandpipers that come down here, spend the winter here, fly back up into the tundras to breed each year.
Having relatives who come from Siberia and having been there myself, I'd have to say that's a stupid idea, because I suppose they have 6 weeks summer there, there's lots of insects and flowers.
Whereas once they've gone back to Siberia, you've got lovely reds and dark bars on them and beautiful birds in their breeding plumage.
You know, that's where my grandmother was born, in Siberia, don't you?
That's right. I do know, yes.
So our family is partly a migratory bird family where we bred in Siberia and then we fly out here to eat.
Worth putting a tag on her, do you think?
Well, you'd have to dig her up to do that.
Well, the thing with a lot of these migratory pathways, they would have been established thousands and thousands of years ago, when conditions may have well been different. You still have this genetic programming of things making journeys which we look at and say, why are they doing that? Whereas when it first evolved, it may have made a lot more sense.
Are these migratory avenues or roads changing?
There is some change in some species. I expect most of these trans-Siberian migrants probably have limited flexibility about changing. Whereas some of the others that you get in the Sydney area, like the welcome swallows, some will migrate, some may not. Depends. If it's a cold winter, more of the population may move. Some of them may stay, some may go. So you have a flexibility that some birds, particularly the long-distance migrants, don't seem to have.
Recently I wore a pedometer to measure the amount of footsteps I took. You're supposed to do 10,000 steps per day to burn fat. The only way I achieved that figure was taking the suggestion of a friend and attaching it to my dog. Suddenly, I did 50,000 steps a day. Sadly, I lost no weight and my bum moved permanently up to my stomach so it can retire somewhere with a better view. A paunch is really just a bum with a better view. So far, I am 580 birds short of my target of 600. This week, I ticked the bar-tailed godwit I saw in the April 2007 Cumberland Bird Observer's newsletter. So that's 21. 22, the great egret.
Egrets, I've had a few.
23, the sacred kingfisher. 24, the zebrafinch I saw at Homebush. 25 is the welcome swallow. And I'm also claiming 26, the tree martin. And 27, the fairy martin. 28 is the powerful owl I didn't see. And the remains of its meal is my 29, the white-faced heron. 30 was the striated heron I saw waiting on the river's edge. Not me waiting, the bird. Is there any similarity between the white-faced and the striated heron?
No.
31 is the pied currawong. The pied currawong is like a bird watcher. They love to hide in trees and observe, seeing where the other birds make their nests, discovering if a particular bird is distressed, and then they tick it. Very aggressive bird watchers, those pied currawongs. 32, the white-bellied sea eagle that flew overhead, chased by the Australian raven, like a black Monaro chasing a truck. 33 was the azure kingfisher. We waited for him to do something wonderful, and when he obliged us with a swoop, it brought a from our atlasing group. Of course, my ooh and my ah were a bit after all the others. Ooh. Ah. And 34 was the dollar bird I didn't see. Excuse me. Hi, Lee. Oh, phew. You know that breakfast cereal ad I went for? Well, I didn't get it. It's a bit of a bummer. I kind of needed the bucks. Wonder if my audition was lousy. Graham Gibson writes, birdwatching can encourage a state close to rapture. We can't predict these moments nor recapture them. It's only afterwards, when the self returns with its familiar baggage, that we recognise something truly liberating has occurred. Tomorrow, I'll get a rock warbler. Tomorrow, I will have 100 species. Tomorrow, I will be liberated.
Any birder worth his salt who comes into New South Wales and doesn't go away seeing the rock warbler's got to feel pretty depressed, I would reckon.
Well, I am going bird watching tomorrow, so I better get off to sleep. Oh, those new neighbours are noisy. Here comes the sleep. Here comes the sleep. They're closing all the mouths upon my street. Here comes the sleep. All the words are unemployed again. I wanna hear Dad's car on the drive. I wanna hear his handbrake. I want him inside. He'll have to heat his dinner. It'll be all dry. At least I would have heard him say good night.